clutter eating you alive? Well, stay tuned if you want some suggestions to reduce that. Hi, this is GH Glade for Everyday ADD Coaching. And is this the room of an ADD person? This is a totally fictitious background, and I call it my Pottery Barn background. But is this the type of place a person with ADD would have? If you're ADD, you know it is not. Who would have a bookcase that is this clear with just decorative little tchotchkes stacked on books looking oh so Pottery Barn? The desk. The desk. Oh, is anyone's desk actually that clear? I know I have to work to keep mine sort of clear so I can have a usable workspace. There are a number of things you can do to deal with clutter. And let's keep in mind that clutter activates the same part of the brain as physical pain. It is actually wearing aside from being distracting. You try to organize, but you don't seem to get anywhere. Are your efforts targeted, or do you float around like a bumblebee going from flower to flower? I swear my wife was only aware of my ADD when we were cleaning the basement together. And the end product looked fine because I was working in just one set of rooms. But she realized I popped from task to task to task. And if you go from room to room to room, you aren't going to see any progress. Don't scatter your efforts over multiple rooms at a time. You will never see progress that way. I would suggest focusing, even taking 20 minutes a day to focus on one part of one room. Take manageable bites of this, but keep your efforts really focused. There's a certain reward to seeing progress, and that is the pathway to progress. I had a parent who was kind of a hoarder, and every time I'd go and visit, I would see about getting rid of some of the clutter that always existed there. I found 40-year-old tax returns. I took so much stuff out of there. And so we wound up purging. And the carryover is I'd come home and I'd want to purge my own space. And it was really gratifying to get rid of a bunch of stuff. So purge often. If you have kids, go through their toys before birthdays and other gift-giving holidays and ask them what can be sold or donated. Purging is good for the soul. It actually makes you feel better when you can donate stuff and somebody's going to get some good use of it. And the Nobel Prize goes to the person who invented clear bins. They let you see what's in them. They're perfect for stacking things. Years ago, I had the opportunity to go to Denise Allen's house, and she and I were board members on a nonprofit dealing with ADD. She is the founder of Simply Experts, and this was the first time I saw clear bins. Her front coat closet was mastery of organization using clear bins, and it turned on a massive light bulb for me. I largely do clear bin storage now. And for the old bins, and usually these are larger, that are not clear, what I do is I go on my computer and I make an inventory sheet and I tape it right to the top of the box. But clear bins absolutely rock because you can tell whether you've got light bulbs or whatever. You just have to look at the outside of the bin. And that's a wonderful segue to my next tip. Consider getting help from a professional organizer. Sometimes it's all about getting a good start and then maintaining it. And they can get you off the ground to that good start. They can teach you ways of maintaining that. Get into those good habits of maintaining that space is easiest when you know what and how to do it. I like the idea of having a launch pad right by your door. And what do I mean by this? What you want to do is get a basket and maybe a small bookcase, and you want to have everything that needs to go out the door the next day placed there. That becomes its place. It may be the kids' homework. It could be keys, cell phones, whatever needs to go with you out the door. And that's a really good way of not forgetting to take things that are important. I would suggest you pre-pack your kid's backpack. Make sure their homework gets in it. And then it has its place right by the door so they can grab it before they launch out into the world. So if you're finding this an episode that is really helpful, I want you to thump that like button. And moreover, I want you to share this. I would really appreciate hearing about any of your struggles with clutter. And if you want to come back to this and leave the most important takeaway you found from the video, I'd love to see that as well. Let's move on to the flat space dilemma. Flat spaces are hotspots for clutter. We tend to want to set things down that we don't know what to do with, that don't have a designated place. You can clear them, but just like dishes, they're going to attract clutter again. Flat spaces are a magnet for that. And so let's take a tip from doing dishes. I like to clear my sink out at the end of the day so I get up to a kitchen that isn't a mess. It really is a habit I've developed. But you can take this habit and take 15, maybe 20 minutes a day to go to those hot spots in your house. Clear the decks. Make sure those flat spots are clear. So, hey, when you want to have dinner, you can actually set a plate down on the table without having to push a bunch of stuff to the side. Yeah, I think a lot of people might relate to that one. I know there have been times where I certainly can. The rule of thumb is everything has a place and place everything in its place. But what if your space is really limited? What if you have a small living space? Well, the solution to this is pick furniture that can do double duty. Does your bed have drawers underneath? Can you stick a massive clear bin full of winter coats or apparel underneath the bed during the summer, even if it doesn't have drawers? How about ottomans with tops that come off? That's where I tend to store quilts and blankets that we may want to take out on a cold winter's day. We have just scratched the surface of organization and reducing clutter. I really want you to think about that notion of what a professional organizer can do for you in terms of getting started. They are totally worth the money. There are some extraordinary people out there that can really help you get off to a good start. And again, if you like this video, share it with your friends. Let's get this information out in the world for other people who have the same kind of struggles you do. Until next week, this is G.H. Glate for Everyday ADD Coaching.